Hi, my name is Megan Buchter. I'm the Operations Manager for AIM2Flourish, and I would like to walk you through some of the new aspects on our new website. AIM2Flourish is very excited about our new website and to be able to make the AIM2Flourish experience more easy and efficient for you. I'd just like to walk you through some of the new features on our site. Um, it's much more visually appealing, and as you can see, we have recent innovations on the home page and also an area at the bottom where you or your students can sign up on the site once you're ready to participate in the Aim to Flourish assignment. I hope that you get a chance to take some time and go through all of the pages and check out the site for yourself. But a few things that I just want to point out on the About page, if you scroll about halfway down, you can see that we have the Aim to Flourish Executive Summary in English and in Spanish. This is very useful for learning more about Aim to Flourish, also for potentially students using to give to potential business leaders that they might be interviewing, or you to share with your colleagues or your dean. So that's there on the About page. Um, I also would like to point out that the Contact Us form is under About. If your students are having any trouble with the website or have any questions and they'd like to reach out to Aim to Flourish, this is a really great place for them to fill out the Contact Us form and submit it to us. The schools page here has a add my school button now. And so if you are ready to offer Aim to Flourish in your school and your school is not listed on our site yet, you can have your school added. You fill out this information, click add my school, and we'll make sure that it's added to the site. That way your students will be able to select that school when they are ready to start their innovation stories. Under the Flourish Prizes menu, you get information about the Flourish Prizes. This is just general information on the first page, and then as we have it, we will update the 2018 Flourish Prizes page with more information about our winners, about the celebration, about how that process is going. You can also see the 2017 Flourish Prizes page. This includes all of our winners from the 2017 Flourish Prizes, and you can read their stories here. Under news, we have publications. This will take you to a list of our publications. Blog, that'll take you to our Medium post where you can learn more about things that Aim to Flourish is doing on a day-to-day basis. And videos, this will take you to our YouTube site where you can see videos such as this one that I'm recording now, or any of the recordings from our professor workshops, or other videos that we've taken and shared. Something really great about this new site is that our professor resources are right here. So when you are ready to learn more about Aim to Flourish and potentially offer Aim to Flourish to your students, you can come to the professor resources page and get all of the resources that you need right here on this page. We give you a description about Aim to Flourish, more information so that you can learn about Aim to Flourish, and then we go into our classroom resources. The classroom resources here are designed to be something that you would use in your class, something that you could give your students so that they could learn more about Aim to Flourish or learn more about one of the subject matters that Aim to Flourish covers. And this area of the site is broken out into those subjects. So first we have more information about teaching Aim to Flourish generally. In classroom resources that can be offered regarding learning more about Aim to Flourish. Then we get into resources about teaching appreciative inquiry. We have resources about teaching the global goals and articles about teaching that you can use in your classes for teaching business as an agent of world benefit. We also offer sample curricula. So these are syllabi that some of our professors have shared with us so that if you need to learn more about how to incorporate Aim to Flourish into your syllabus, you can take a look here and see how other professors have done this before. Our recognition materials are also located here. So if you'd like to give your student certificates for completing the assignment, you are able to download and fill out their information and print those from here. And then we have information about our Aim to Flourish professor community. If you're interested in finding out more about appreciative inquiry or the UN Global Goals, we have separate pages full of many, many resources on those topics. So you can go there if you want even more information about those subject areas. Our student resources are designed for students, so you should be sure to send your students here while they're completing the assignment. This page goes through everything that your students need to know just to get through the AIM2Flourish assignment. So you might assign other articles or readings or separate activities for your students to do during your class. This page will walk them just through the basis of the AIM2Flourish assignment, from selecting the business that they're going to interview all through getting their story published on the site. The student guide to the AIM2Flourish assignment helps with those step-by-step instructions of walking your students through the assignment. This page also does something very similar. So it starts with finding story ideas. It starts with the requirements for the company that the student is choosing. So as long as the company meets one of these requirements, then that's a good company that they should contact and find a business leader to interview. We also have some just suggestions of places where your students can start if they're looking for story ideas. So this list is by no means all inclusive. If the students know a business that they like in their community or they have a contact at a business, that's great. They can go ahead and do that. This is just kind of here if your students need some help, need some places to start, to look for a business that they might want to reach out to. This page then goes into resources for students for preparing for their interview and then writing and publishing their story. And many of our resources are in Spanish. We're working on building those resources out currently. So check back soon if you're looking for more Spanish resources. That is something that we're working on. But this is a great page for your students to go through, for you to go through to see the resources that we're giving to our students to get them through the assignment. Under the innovations menu here, you can see browse story, create a story, and dashboard. So browse story is where your students can go to see the stories that have already been published, and they can go to advanced search here if they're interested in searching by title, by specific UN global goal, looking for their story, or if classmates or friends' story. You can search by professor to get all of the results from all of your classes, your university, the business type, business name, business location. So you can search through these stories to see what's out there. You can encourage your students to search through and read stories. That's a really great way for them to see what we're looking for in the assignment, because these are all stories that have been published. If you're offering the AIM2Flourish assignment, your students are going to need to create a story. So in order to do that, they're going to go here to create a story, and that's where they're going to start the story. Once they do that, they're going to get this login page. So this part of the site requires you to sign up on the site and then log in to get to this site. The rest of the site is completely open. You don't have to have a login or a sign up to view the stories that have been published or view any of the resources. We've done this so that you're able to better share the stories with your networks, share AIM2Flourish with your colleagues, with your dean, with your friends, without them having to sign up and log in onto the site. But when your students are ready to start their stories, they will have to sign up and log in on the site. I'm going to jump over here. This is where I've logged in as a professor. That way I can show you what you'll see as a professor when you're going through this process. So as a student, you'll click on Create Story, and you as a professor could see this page too once you're logged in. It'll automatically pre-populate the author. If they'd like to add additional authors, if they're working in groups, those authors just need to have a login on the site, and then they'll be able to add their names. When they logged in, when they registered, if they selected a school, the school will pre-populate, but that can be changed. The professor, they can select you as their professor. This form is relatively similar to the form that was on the old site. So it gets into the business information, the business overview, the business logo is required, goes into the person interviewed. If your student conducted multiple interviews, they can add additional interviewees by clicking this button. So if they interviewed 2 or 3 people at the same company, they'll be able to add those individuals separately. Then you have your story. They should update the story title there, where the innovation is used, the innovation overview, describing the innovation, inspiration for the innovation, overall impact, business benefit, and social and environmental benefit. Each of these sections has a couple sentences underneath, some helper text to help the students remember what they should put in those boxes. Here we have the media uploads. We now just require one story image. The hero image is optional. That's the cover photo that'll show up on your student's story. But if they don't have a photo that fits that space, then they don't need to upload something there. They also are able to upload video links here. So you can upload one here. There's also one up at the back with the interview information if they'd like to upload a video of their interview. Selecting the global goals, your students can select up to 5 global goals that the story pertains to. Potential impact, those are all described below. We still require the student experience. We have added a very simple student survey that we ask that your students fill out. We're just using this right now for internal purposes, just to kind of see where we're at and what we can do better at. Once your students start their story, they're able to come back and work on it so they can save and exit and return to the story later. If they're ready to submit it to their professor, they can submit the story to their professor. That's when the story will go to you, it'll go to professor review, and you'll be able to review the story. As a professor, once you log on, you can go to dashboard. So under the innovations menu, you'll go to dashboard, and this is where you'll be able to see your dashboard and see what your students are doing. So this is just my pretend professor account to use for training. So you can see here that this professor has 3 stories in progress. One is in compose, one is in professor review, and one is in editorial review. He doesn't have any stories published, but he does have 3 stories archived. And if he wanted to take a look at that, he could just click on archived and see the stories that have been archived from his class. If, as a professor, you click on a story that's in compose, you can see the story, you can see what your students are doing, but they're going to be the only ones that can make any changes to that story. Once a story is in professor review, this means that it's your turn to review the story. So very similar to the old site, you'll be able to go in here and you'll be able to make changes as needed to the story to help help your students make the story better. One thing that is different that I would like to point out that's different from the old site is the commenting section down here. And so on the old site, it used to be that when you made a change in any of the story boxes, then a space for you to comment would show up under that story box. We don't have that feature anymore. We've moved the comments to the bottom. And so you'll be able to send a comment down here. You can send a comment to the author or to the editor, and that's who's going to be able to see your comment. And the main benefit of this commenting feature is that students are going to be able to comment back. So it used to be that even if though you could comment on your student's story, they didn't have a way of responding to you to tell you whether or not they've addressed your concerns or your edits. And so with this feature, they're able to respond to your comments, and you can have a conversation down here at the bottom of the story, and make sure that you and your student are communicating about what you're requiring for their story and them letting you know that they've completed that or not. Once you've finished editing the story, save and exit if you need to come back to it, return to author if you need to send it back to the author for additional edits, or submit to editor if you're ready for us to take a look at it. When you submit a comment, your student or the editor will get an email saying that a comment has been addressed to them on the story and that they can go and take a look at it and respond to that comment. If a story is an editorial review and you click on it, you'll get a notice that says the story is passed per the professor stage. So you can only read the story. This is where we're editing the story, so you can't make any changes to that story at this time. And the editor will be the one that can then make changes to the story. And they will then be able to also go down here and send comments if they need to send comments to the professor or to the student. If they're sending it back, they can write their comments here, letting the student and the professor know what they need to change in the story, and then the student or the professor can respond to those comments once the story when the story goes back, and then the editor can see that those issues have been addressed. Just taking a look, At the dashboard here, so like I said, these stories are in status compose, professor review, editorial review. The last status is final review. That's where we at Aim to Flourish will take a look at the student story, make sure it meets all of the guidelines necessary, and we'll get that story published. And once the story is published, you'll be able to go here to publish just to see a list of your student stories that are published. You'll also be able to browse through them. If you went to innovations and browse stories, you could see the student stories there. Um, you will get emails, and your students will get emails as their students move through the process. So when a student starts a story on the site, you'll get an email that says that they've started a story with you as the professor on the site. You'll get an email when the story hits professor review. Your students will get an email when the story hits editorial review, and then everyone will get an email. You and your students should get an email when the story is published. You'll also receive an email if a comment has been added to the story that has been addressed to you. So that is a look at the website and at the dashboard and how to get to the dashboard and how to use the dashboard. I'm here. My email address is megan@aim2flourish.com. So if you watch this video and have any other questions, or if you're working on if you're offering Aim to Flourish in your class and you run into any issues, please just give me an email. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. We're very excited about the site, but we also understand that with a new site you run into bugs, and so please let us know if you run into anything that needs to be fixed or adjusted, or if you have any questions or comments about the new site. We're always happy to hear those as well. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and please let me know if you have any questions.